Hello, everyone. We are so excited that you could join us today. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to let you know that we have so many amazing activities and virtual events, just like this one, that are planned for you in the upcoming weeks. But just so that you know, just to join into the fun, you're going to need to do a few things. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you have a library card, so you can sign up for that at ocls.info. The second thing you're going to want to do is join Beanstalk. You're going to do so by creating an account at ocls.beanstalk.org. And the third thing that you're going to want to do is register to attend our virtual events, which you can also do at our website, which is ocls.info. My name is Miss Silence. I will be hosting today, but we do have a very special guest, and I hope that you are excited and that you're ready to have some fun today. This week is going to be a little bit different from our Monday live events because many of you will probably recognize this friendly face that we're going to have from some of our other virtual events. So I am very happy to welcome one of our own OCLS staff, Miss Stephanie, who will be presenting Magic Science. So with that, let's go ahead and bring on Miss Stephanie.
Hello.
Hello, Miss Stephanie. We are so excited that you can join us today. And I know that I have my science cap on, that I'm ready to learn all of the good things. And so with that, I'm going to hop backstage and I'm going to turn it over to you. Okay?
All right. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Miss Stephanie, and I am so excited that you have joined me today for Magic Science. Now, before we begin, I want to let you know why I decided to name this event Magic Science. Well, that's because I'm going to share a whole bunch of magic tricks with you that can be backed up by science. Each of these tricks that I'm going to show you today can be backed up by the scientific principle of static electricity. So I hope you guys are very excited to learn some cool tricks that will amaze your friends and family just by using static electricity. Now, what is static electricity? So static electricity is the imbalance of negative and positive charges. So you can find this when you accidentally get shocked. You can find it's kind of like a crackling energy that you sometimes get. I have an example for you that shares what static electricity is. Have you ever worn socks and you're walking against the carpet and you scrape your feet along? You're just shuffling your feet. And as you're doing this, what you don't know is that your body is picking up the negative charges from the carpet in that friction, and your body is storing each of those. So when you're doing that, you keep scooting along, your body is waiting for the next positive charge that can find in order to release that energy. So say you're walking along and then you go to give your sister a high five and snap. What you had right there was a shock, and that was the negative energy going to the closest positive energy possible, that being your sister. So that is how static electricity travels. It's the negative energy waiting to be attracted by the positive energy to finally be released. So I'm going to be sharing with you some of these fantastic experiments today. And one of the things that we're going to be learning about is how opposites attract. Now, this is going to be with our negative ions and our positive. So what I have right here is a balloon. But before we get started, I'm going to let you know that you need to have a magic word ready. I'm going to use abracadabra. And you should also have your magic fingers ready. I'm going to use my wiggly fingers to utilize this magic here. So a few rules about magic are that you should never, ever do the same trick for the same group of people more than once. But because I want you guys to be fantastic magicians, I'm going to do this for you until we get it. We're going to learn about all these fantastic tricks and you'll know the reasoning behind it, which is another rule. You should never tell anyone the trick behind your trick. But here it is. What I'm going to do with this balloon is I am going to make it stick to the wall behind me. I'm going to do it first, but I need you to think about how this could happen. We know that balloons are not magnetic and this wall doesn't have any magnets in it either. There's nothing sticky on it. How's it going to stick to the wall? Let's find out. So I'm going to use my magic here, my magical cloth. And I'm going to use my magic hands. rubbing all of the magic onto the balloon. And then here's where we go in to make it stick to the wall. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. It's because I didn't say abracadabra. So we're gonna try one more time. And I'm gonna put more of my magic on there. We're gonna keep it going. And I'll try it one more time. Whoa. Let me try it one more time, and then I'm going to explain to you what I'm actually doing, because right now it's not working with me, which is okay, because as Miss Silence has told me, sometimes when you're doing your magic tricks and your science, it doesn't always work out, which is why we continue to do things until it finally does. It's all about trial and error here. So here I am going to do this, and hopefully this one is going to do the trick. And there it is. I'm going to say abracadabra, and it's kind of sticking. And there we have it. So what I actually did here is that I had the negative energy and all of these electrons were moved onto the balloon, and that they were transferred over using friction using this cloth. So when the cloth rubs up against the balloon, all of the negative charges from the cloth go onto the balloon and they stick to the wall. The wall is positively charged, and like we said, opposites attract. So when I put this balloon onto the wall, it wants to stick because the negative charges are sticking to the positive charges. So that was one example of how we got our negative charges to do that, and how we got the balloon to become sort of magnetic. We could have it stick using some of our energy. But another thing that I'm going to show you is how to make this paper become magnetic. That's what you can tell your friends. So we're going to do the same thing that we did over here. Think about how this could work. So I'm going to charge up this balloon with my magic fingers. And I'm going to say abracadabra. And what you see there is that the pieces of paper are attracted to the balloon. So that was some of the magic that we have going on, or the science behind it is the static electricity. Like we did with the balloon sticking to the wall, what we see here is that the negative electrons have gone onto the balloon and they stick to the pieces of paper that have been positively charged. Now, I didn't do anything to the pieces of paper, which is why they were able to stick to the balloon. Another way that I can show you this is by using a magic wand. Now, the magic wand that I'm using is a PVC pipe. So it looks a little different than other magic wands, but I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the balloon, and I'm going to charge up the magic wand. I'm using my magic fingers here, and I'm going to see if they will stick to the pieces of paper. So let's see if it does the same thing. What do you all think? Do you think that the PVC pipe is going to do the same thing that the balloon did? Will it attract the pieces of paper? Let's find out. And it does. They're jumping up to the PVC pipe. Now, sometimes when you do this multiple times, it loses its charge because what's happening is the negative energy is going on to these. So it's jumping from one to another, kind of like what we said with the shocks. So that energy is coming from this and jumping onto the next thing possible, next thing closest. So we're going to do this again. Charging it up, and abracadabra, and we have them reaching up again. Now, I've been asked by Miss Silence when I was showing her some of these things, I've been asked, how do we know which one is going to work better? Is there a difference between these things? Well, One of the differences is that they're made out of two different materials. So this is a latex balloon and it's very light. This is a PVC pipe and it's kind of heavy. So when we're sticking the balloon onto the wall, it's more than likely going to stick because it's so light. But if I did the same thing with the PVC pipe, what do you think would happen? Would it stick to the wall? No, because it's so much heavier. So it wouldn't be able to stick to the wall at all. So when it comes to showing these different tricks, you got to think with your brain, what's going to work best with doing this? These were both able to pick up the pieces of paper, but I know that I couldn't make the PVC pipe stick to the wall. So that's why I used the balloon instead of my magic wand. But for the next experiment or magic trick that I'm going to show you, you can also use both your magic wand and the balloon. This one is my favorite when it comes to opposites attracting. What you're going to use is an aluminum can. This is my aluminum can that I'm going to use. And I'm going to do the same thing that I've been doing. And I'm going to charge up my magic wand. So here I am using my magic fingers. And let's see what's going to happen. Do you think that the can is going to go in the opposite direction? Or is the can going to come to my magic wand? Let's find out with our magic word and some of our recharging. Another thing when it comes to this is that sometimes if you touch something, you lose the charge. And I forget that often when I'm doing this. I'll touch something and then the negative energy will just jump onto something else and then I'll lose my charge. So here we go. Let's try this one more time. Abracadabra. I'm not touching it, so I am not making this move with my hands. You could tell your friends you're using telekinesis here. You'd be like, oh, with my mind powers, I'll make this move. So here we go. We'll try this one more time with abracadabra, using your mind powers, and you made it move. I'm going to do the same thing with the balloon. So I'm going to charge it again using my magic fingers. And try not to touch anything so that I don't lose that charge. And sometimes when you do this, you can hear that little crackling sound that we were talking about earlier when it comes to static electricity. So with the balloon, as we've noticed, the balloon does the same thing that my magic wand has been doing. So let's watch and see if I can recreate the same trick. So let's do some abracadabra. That moved a lot faster. And let's see if I can get it back on this side. And I did all of that without touching it. So what's going on here is that this can is positively charged and this balloon is negatively charged because of that friction that we were talking about. All of the negative charges were jumping over to the balloon. There's an imbalance in the balloon, which means that these negative charges are just waiting to meet the next closest thing that has a positive charge so that it can go back to being neutral again. The next closest thing was this can, which is why the can was rolling to get close to the balloon. So that explains some of that, but you can tell your friends that you're using telekinesis. They don't have to know the science behind it, but if you want to teach them, you're more than welcome to, and they can learn about static electricity as well. So we've learned that opposites attract. But what about when you have things that have the same type of energy? Let's think about it. If opposites attract, we have a positive and a negative, and they come together. What would happen if we have two negatives? Or what would happen if we have two positives? Would they do anything? Let's find out. So for this one, I have two balloons. And I'm going to hang these on the wall behind me here. All right. And I'm going to use my magic wand. We're going to try this with both the balloon and the magic wand. And I'm going to charge it or put my magic energy on there. And let's see what happens. Let me try it with the balloon first. So I don't know if you can see here, but well, at least they've decided not to work today, but that's okay. What we should be seeing is that these balloons should be going in opposite directions. Now, it's possible that as I've had the balloons laying down, they've picked up some charges. So let's see. Yep, that's what it was. If you can see that, they picked up some charges and now they're sticking to me. That's because I'm positively charged and I just negatively charged this one. So if I do this to the balloon, what's going to happen here? You can kind of see them moving apart, or at least I can. And they're moving apart because they have the same charge and they do not want to be anywhere near each other. So they actually repel each other. So you've probably seen some examples of this happen when you go down the slide. When you're going down the slide and your hair comes back up and it's all crazy and it's pointing in different directions, your hair's positively charged and it wants to get away from all of the other positively charged hairs, which causes them to split apart and look super crazy. I would show you some negatively charged hair, but I've got more of a show to do, so let's not do that yet. So that is an example of how these will repel each other. Now, I do have some more magic tricks that show a little bit better, like using these right here. These are 2 styrofoam plates. Now, we've seen that when we have 2 things that are of the same charge, they push apart. What will happen when I negatively charge these plates? Think about it. Do we think that they'll come closer together? Do we think that they'll push apart and go completely different ways? Or can we get a different kind of effect going on? So let's see. I'm going to use my magic cloth again. And I'm going to be putting my magic energy on here. Going to do the same with this one. Put my magic energy on there. And abracadabra. What we have going on here is that these are actually repelling each other so much that they're hovering. Now, my hand is still positively charged, which is why it was sticking to me for so long. So let me do this one more time for you and explain what's happening here. I'm rubbing the negative charges onto these plates. Doing the same for both of them. Now, when I put one on top of the other, they repel. They do not want to be close to each other at all. So you can tell your friends that you're using your abracadabra magic words to make sure that these are repelling each other, or you could tell them that using the negative charges between both of these have caused them to repel, which gives this hovering type of effect. It's one of my favorite experiments. And last but not least, what I have for you is one that can get a little messy, but what we have here is a bowl, and inside of the bowl I have water, and I have a cup that has a little hole in it. Now, what we've seen with the other experiments, we're still on having positive, the same type of charges with each other. I'm going to see what you think will happen when I use some water and charge this. Do you think that this will attract the water or will it push it away? Let's find out. So I'm going to use my magic wand for this one. And I'm gonna get rid of these balloons for now. I'm gonna say bye, balloons. And charging it. Now this one loses its energy fast, so I might have to show you this multiple times. But here I go with my water. You see a steady stream. And I don't know if you can tell, but the water starts to bend. Look at how it was going straight. Now it's bending. And I can do it the other way, and it starts to bend the other way too. There, you can see. You can see it better on this way. But let's see if our balloon can do the same thing too. I'm gonna scoop up my water again, so I have that ready. And I'm gonna negatively charge it. And let's try this one more time, using the balloon this time as our magic wand. So there's my steady stream of water. Oh goodness. So you see there that it's making the water bend, and it's bending that way too. So I made a little mess on the table, but that's why we have the little bowl with us, so that it can capture the mess. But what you see right there is that we made the water bend. It wanted to do everything possible to get away from the balloon, so it would start going in the opposite direction, kind of like an arch. So that was some of the magic that we have done today using static electricity. Now, I know that I told you all a few rules that I broke when it comes to magic. A few of the rules that I broke were that I did the same trick for you over again. And another of the rules that I broke were that I told you all the mechanics behind it. But here is one rule that you absolutely cannot break. This rule is to practice. Make sure that you practice all of your tricks, because then you'll become a fantastic scientist or magician, and you'll be able to amaze your friends with all of the different tricks that you've learned today. So I want to thank you all so much for joining me for some magic science. Keep practicing these things, and you all will do fantastic magic tricks. So we'll have Miss Silence back.
Hi, that was amazing. My brain feels bigger. I am like ready to take on a second career as a scientist. That was so much fun.
Yay, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
So my favorite ones, definitely any opportunity to see what weird things happen with balloons is super fun. And I really loved the water experiment. But what is your favorite science experiment, Miss Stephanie?
Well, when it comes to this event, my favorite science experiment was actually the one with the can, because I feel like this gives great results. You can see the can moving, and it's really cool because you could play this off in so many different ways. Like I said, you could play it off and tell your friends that you're actually telekinetic, you're moving it with your mind, or that you've put some magic energy in here, when you know that the mechanics behind it are actually just static electricity. So this is my favorite one when it comes to everything that I've done in this program.
It's definitely a very interesting and jazzy way to like pass someone a soda too. Mm-hmm. Like, why not just send it on its way? So we're going to ask that everybody watching, if you have any questions for Miss Stephanie, please pop them in the chat now. And while we're giving everyone a minute to do that, I do have a few more questions for you. So one thing I want to know is, how did you become interested in science?
So I have been interested in science pretty much since I can remember. I remember getting one of the books from a library in my hometown. I grew up in Kentucky, and my favorite library, I would go and I'd pick out books. And one of the books that I picked out had a whole bunch of different experiments. And of course, the classic experiment was in there of making a volcano. So ever since I got to make that volcano in my mom's kitchen and create a big explosion, a chemical reaction that was such a mess and also so exciting, I've been hooked.
I love it. Yes, volcanoes are always my jam. Bigger, the bolder, the better. Let's see, are we getting any questions yet? Oh, yeah. So Laura has one that says, Miss Stephanie, do you have any favorite books about science?
This is perfect because Miss Silence has the books that we were talking about. So Miss Silence, I'm actually going to pass this one over to you so you can share all of the fantastic, cool books you have.
So one of the cool things about working in a library is that you can get all the books all the time. And the other cool thing about working in a library is that you get to work with people who are like-minded and who maybe love the same books that you do. So Stephanie and I were talking, and one of the things that we really love is Steve Spangler. If you have not checked out his books before, they're amazing. Naked Eggs and Flying Potatoes is one. And then they're so good that I have them at the library and I have them at home, which is why Stephanie was like, perfect. And then the other one is Fire Bubbles and Exploding Toothpaste. These are really great books that have awesome visuals so that you guys can learn how to do your own science experiments at home. He even has a website called Sick Science where they have short little YouTube videos that teach you everything. So we use those a lot in our story times, and I was glad that we could share that resource together. But were you telling me about something that you use on our website all the time, Miss Stephanie?
Yes, speaking of online resources, one of the resources that I like to use is actually on our website. So if you go to ocls.info and you click at the very top where it says Learning and Research, you can go to Homework Help. And on there, we have a resource called Science Online. If you ever need an experiment or something to do for a science fair, or just because you want to do something really cool at home and you want to learn the scientific information behind it, you can click that little tab that says experiments, and it lists out a whole bunch of different experiments for you to try using different components and all kinds of different materials. And that's something that we have that you can access with your library card.
That is amazing. And when we are done here today, I'm immediately going to go on Science Online and I'm going to research all of the things. All right, well, let's see. I think that we do not have any more questions. Let me see. Is there one more question that I want to know from Miss Stephanie? Let's see. What is the hardest science experiment that you ever had to learn how to do? Or even which one was the trickiest that you did today?
The trickiest one, as you all noticed that I did today, was the first one that I shared with you with the balloon sticking to the wall. So you noticed that I had to do that one multiple times. And the reason why I had to do it multiple times is because sometimes it has to do with you touching different things and losing the charge. We touch so many different things throughout our day that we don't even notice that we're doing it. So as I was doing that, I was probably touching the table and going back and losing the charge. So that was one of the most difficult ones for today, but in the end, we got it to work, right? It was all trial and error. That was the most difficult one for today.
I mean, it does show though that like if you just keep doing it, that like eventually you'll get a result that you're looking for, which is what science is all about. We did get another one, which was, do you know any cool food science experiments?
Yes, and please tell me the title of or it's called Candy Experiments. We've done a whole bunch of different programs ourselves in OCLS. They have all kinds of different experiments that you can use with food. I also have an upcoming program it's called Edible Slime. We'll be using Jell-O to create a slime. That's food.
That's a chemical reaction.
The chemistry behind that and how we turned a Jell-O powder into like a slimy thing that you can play with and eat. And I know a lot of people say don't play with your food, but this is one that you can actually play with.
I 1,000% want to play with my food. So I will be signing up for that afterwards as well. That's amazing. Oh, it's so good. We are sharing a couple of book recommendations in the chat too. So Candy Experiments is in the chat, and that's another book that might help you guys. Well, these are really great questions, and these were fantastic experiments that you shared with us today, Ms. Stephanie. We really appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead, and I know that you've got a bunch more science experiments to do at your branch today, so we will say goodbye. But before we go, is there any last things that you wanted to tell anyone at home about today?
I just want to make sure that you guys are utilizing the resources that we have at the library. Try out Science Online. Check out some cool books. Sign up for our classes. All of these things. If you really enjoyed today's program, you get to do more things like this. So we have all of those resources for you all, and I really hope to see you all in future programs.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you again, Miss Stephanie. We'll see you soon. Bye. All right, everyone. I don't know about you, but I had a ton of fun today, and I want to thank all of you at home for joining us and watching. So a few things before we say farewell. Please make sure to check out our website. You'll find more fun live virtual events like this one that you can register to attend. You'll do all of that at ocls.info. As always, keep tracking your reading and activities in Beanstalk. We always have fun activities for you to enjoy. There's book recommendations, challenges that you can participate in that are all geared towards your specific age group. It's always a good time. You can sign up for an account if you do not have one at ocls.beanstalk.org. And finally, we would love to have your feedback about how our event went today. Your feedback is very important to us. It helps us do better and be better. So please, when you have a moment, complete our survey. It's offered in English and Spanish for your convenience. We're going to go ahead and pop the links in the chat. And again, thank you for joining us today. We had a blast being with you, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to be the first to find out when we have new fun and informative videos for you. Orange County Library System is your place to learn, grow, connect.